double-edged sword, a solipsistic question, bad for the complexion it is.
Gareth, great seeing you again.
Good to see you, Mike.
I got to tell you, I'm happy to have you as an advisor, particularly right now with this new information that you have with respect to Iran. As you know, I mentioned that in the debate that the Senate had passed a resolution by Joe Lieberman. Now, you know and I know Senator Lieberman is the author of the Iraq resolution that passed in 2002 that gave George Bush the power to go to war. And look at, we've had, what, several thousand Americans killed. I say a million Iraqis have died. You give me the information of what this charge about Iran supplying weapons to kill American soldiers.
Right. I mean, this is, as you, I know, understand, this is the equivalent, in the case of the U.S. threat to Iran, of the phony WMD claim in 2002, 2003. You know, you're absolutely right to have condemned the Kyl-Lieberman amendment and the thinking that went on behind it, and the problem that the Senate just has not wakened up, has not awakened to the fact that they are being had once again, in this case, over the phony idea that Iran has declared war against the United States in Iraq. What is the evidence for this argument that Iran has declared war, that there's a proxy war, that they're fighting in Iraq against U.S. troops by giving the arms, the training, and the advice to these militias that are fighting against Americans? You know, if you go back to the February 2007 briefing in Baghdad, the famous February 11th briefing where the military said, well, we think that Iran is behind this. When they were really pushed, they admitted that this is simply an inference. There is no concrete evidence of it. It's just an inference based on one basic point, one argument they made, which is that we think these explosively formed penetrators, EFPs, these new, more powerful roadside bomb devices, can only be made in Iran. They can't be made anywhere else in the region. Well, it turned out that that was completely false. I mean, the fact is that within days of that briefing, the U.S. troops stumbled upon the first of several bomb-making factories in Iraq. Now the U.S. military's backed down. They say, well, yes, they are being produced in Iraq, but now they're saying, well, the ones that are being produced in Iraq aren't as good as the ones that come presumably from Iran.
But they don't have the proof that they got them from Iran.
They still don't have the proof.
Is there any concrete fact or individual who's prepared to swear publicly that this is going on, other than, of course, our American generals? And when somebody faced me up with that, I said, well, generals don't lie. Well, you ought to go read a book called 11-11-11 by Persico. Do they have any evidence that you can find?
Though that's the interesting point. After all of these arrests of Iraqis who they say are being arrested on suspicion that they're involved in these networks that are bringing in weapons from Iran, they have not named a single Iranian that these people have gotten the weapons from. They have not produced a single Iranian in Iraq that they've gotten them from. They have not even been able to say that they have found an Iraqi that they can tie directly to Iran. So the fact is that the answer is no. There's nothing. They have come up with nothing after all these months.
We know intuitively that they, Bush and Cheney, want to go to war with Iran. This is part of their larger scheme of getting control of the oil of the Middle East. That's a plan that's been around for quite a number of years, and that is, we'll go after the oil in Iraq, then we'll go to Iran, then we'll go to Syria, and then eventually invade Saudi Arabia, capture their oil, and then we, the United States of America, will control the world because we'll control the Middle East and the oil they're in, and we'll back up our control with our military might. That's the scenario of that the neocons played out, and it's a scenario for disaster for the world.
They intended to use the bases that they had in Iraq, then to either invade and change the regime of directly through military force, or to intimidate both Iran and Syria, and some other regimes as well in the Middle East. Obviously, it didn't work because they weren't able to complete the job in Iraq. But otherwise, we know for a fact that that's what they had in mind because, for one thing, General Wes Clark talked to some of his friends in the military in the Pentagon. After 9/11, he was told that there were already plans that they had on their desks that were calling for a series of military operations in the future in the Middle East beyond Iraq.